Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/divorce, where OP discovered that his wife is not only a lazy bum, but also a serial cheater. Let's begin. 20 years of marriage? Done. Please help. Posted by Reddit user NJ Tony.
Okay, here is my story. I am a, now, 50-year-old male, married for 20 plus years to a piece of trash who is 44. We have had a challenging marriage, but not in a marriage sense. It has been rife with difficulties, like money and health issues. I was the typical overachiever in the workplace. I started at the bottom, working at a small PC repair shop way back in the day, for minimum wage, and climbed the ladder like the devil was chasing me. I did this for my family, and because I wanted to be something. I didn't want to have to worry over money, lol. Anyway, my wife, at first, was awesome. We talked, had very similar interests, and I have known her since she was 16. Funny, smart, hot. Everything was there. We connected. Funny though, how a lot of people I was very close to told me she wasn't the one for me, wish I had listened. Anyway, so we date. We dated for about 2 years. I moved in with her and her father, whom she was close to, and helped as I could. She also has a child from an oops when she was 17. Built-in family, another selling point for me. Now, we began dating when I had very little. Shortly after getting together, I knew what I wanted and began my climb up the ladder to make more money for our new family. She was a stay-at-home mom, and that suited me just fine. If she had wanted to work, that would have been fine as well. I am not one of those men. Rock on, ladies. At any rate, we marry, and soon after I started getting promoted. We bought a house, she picked it, while I worked, and she became pregnant during her search. We had our son, my first biological child, shortly before we closed on the house. We move in, and I am on top of the world, sort of. I was now the network administrator of a major area hospital, and I worked a lot. Well, that left her with a 5-year-old and a baby. I noticed during my brief times at home that she really wasn't cut out for the home mom thing. Subtle clues like never cleaning, barely cooking, and my son being in an overloaded diaper when I would get home. Now, I know it's rough, taking care of small children. Don't get me wrong, I have the utmost respect for anyone who devotes themselves to staying at home for the kids. So here we go. She got into an online game called EverQuest, we played together, and it was fun. MMO games were relatively new at this point, and we loved it. Well, she loved it so much that it became her focus. Remember me mentioning the overloaded diapers? Well, it got worse. Once, as a test, I marked my son's diaper, which had pee in it, as I was rushing out the door, and mentioned to her he needed a change. Normally, I was more than happy to get that for her, but I was late getting out the door. I came back home about 12 hours later, and sure enough, she was on the game, and my son was in the same diaper, still in his crib. I was angry. So, I gave him a bath, put him in fresh clothes, and went and got his dinner together. I calmly mentioned the diaper to her, and she said she had changed it a few times that day. Nope. I let it go. I am a loving idiot. So, days go on and the house is looking worse and worse. I work a lot and had little choice, and when I was off, I wanted to just relax. Nope again. I paid for a yard guy to cut the grass, trim the hedges, and edge the driveway. We had trash service, and if we didn't, this is the rural South, mind you, I would have paid for that as well. I made a strong living and was willing to do whatever it took to make her life better if I could. The only thing that made her happy was EverQuest. She played all the time, not joking. So, we get pregnant again with child number 3. I was over the moon and put my issues to the back of my mind. The pregnancy was difficult due to morning sickness. We see the doctor about it, and he isn't that concerned. He says to get more rest and things should be fine. Also, he gave her some medicine for nausea. Well, she calls me at work one day and tells me to come home. I rush home, and she says she can't do this. I ask her what she means. She tells me she needs me home, and could I take a leave from work? I was in the process of upgrading over 100 servers and hundreds of client PCs to Windows 2000, old I know, and knew it would put my employers in a bad spot, but my family comes first. I apply for the leave, and they get a consultant to come in to finish the upgrade for me. Now, I am home, and I see everything. I see how it's wake up, drink a coffee, then EverQuest, then late in the night, sleep. No kids, no nothing. Just that game. I take care of the kids. I cooked, I cleaned, and I started to get my house in order. Now, I have a 2-car garage that I never used. I was going to replace an electrical outlet in the house, so I went to the garage, forgot to mention, it is an attached garage that down the road we wanted to turn into a room for our expanding family. Anyway, I opened the door to the garage and am hit in the face with a bad smell. It's pitch black in there, so I hit the light. What I see blows my mind. The garage is 3 deep in full trash bags. Seriously. It's about a 25 feet walk from either front door of the house to the curb. I ask about it and am told that she is depressed, hates where we live, and I should just deal with it. I am livid. We argue some, but in the end, she yelled louder, turned on the tears, and I let it go. Mind you, this trash was from way before she became pregnant. If it were the pregnancy, I would have happily taken care of the issue for her, but she just kept putting bags in there. Now, the really bad. I am gone from work for a couple of weeks, and I get a call from my boss. To make an already long story a little less long, I lost my job. I worked my butt off to get where I was, and it was now gone. The sad thing is, they had to do it in a way that made me look bad, and all those awesome job offers I would get weekly dried up. I was done. So, I start working on a plan to try and fix this. As I look back, I was in a deep state of depression. House a wreck, kids not being taken care of, and a wife who would use whatever she could to get out of being called out on her crap. Also, since I've been home, I started noticing she turned her computer around so I couldn't see her screen. Needless to say, she was having a torrid cyber affair with some D-bag on the game who did this to many women, it turns out. I am beyond sad. I lost my career, and now I felt like I was losing her. I catch her red-handed with this childish nonsense, and we agree to fix things. We talk, we work the crap out, and I got over it. My only saving grace was that in my mind, it was just typing, not physical. Heh, I am an idiot. Now our financial situation is beginning to get serious. House note, assorted bills, 3 kids, car note. It sucks the savings away pretty quickly. So, we get ready to move into her father's old house, which would help us considerably. Continued. So, she is very pregnant, and I am embarrassed beyond belief at what my house turned into. I was working on it slowly, as I was taking care of the kids now, taking care of her, still pregnant, looking for work, and cooking cleaning the house. So, I had to move us by myself. Not fun. Got very good at moving things solo. Couches, bedroom furniture, you name it, I moved it myself. Well, got to our televisions. This is the dawn of flat-screen TVs, and we didn't have one yet. They were $1,200 back then lol, but we did have 2 36-inch tube TVs. Not sure if any of you ever felt the weight of one of those, but they are a couple of hundred bulky pounds. Huge. Well, she wanted TV at the new place, so off I went. I grabbed the first one from the very back of the house. It was 90 feet from where the TV was to my truck. I didn't have a dolly or anything, so I just picked it up and began my hike. I got it to our porch, which is narrow, with a sharp turn, and as I was turning to go down the steps, the TV nearly slipped, and I grabbed it with all I had. Saved the TV, broke my hand, and popped something in my upper back that felt like a burning stab wound. But I got the TV to the new place. The kids and wife were happy. I then stayed in bed as much as I could for weeks due to my back. I managed as best I could and got pretty much everything else from the old house as my pain would allow. EverQuest was still her passion, but my passion was my kids. Being sad and depressed as I was, I threw myself into making my kids think everything was okay. I couldn't cry, I couldn't mope. Nothing. It was all for them. Worth it. So time goes by and we're broke. Struggling to eat. Getting help from relatives as we could. I must have applied to 100 jobs. Got nothing. I even tried retail. You name it, I tried. So, she decided she wants to work. Cool. She gets a job and I get an email from the brother of the guy she originally sexted with. He says they are at it again, and this time, she sent a nude. My heart dropped. So, I accuse her, and she started deflecting. Blaming it on this or that, lots of yelling, and then she started drinking. Things cool off, and she gets drunk in a spare room in our house and passes out. I went in there to make sure she was okay, and she was literally passed out drunk. I tried to wake her to get her to bed, but no dice. I looked down and her laptop was open. I glanced at what she had open, so as to close it and shut down the laptop, PC guy here, and I see some typing. Now, I am no spy. But I read some of it. It confirmed what the guy's brother told me. I was heartbroken. Now, I am the bad guy for being hyper-aware of certain keywords that my brain instantly sees. I did not set out to read it, but it was open in front of me. She is absolutely indignant that I had the audacity to read her thoughts. My only defense was that I was only trying to save the document and shut down the laptop. Anyway, she was still being a cyber hoe. My brother volunteers to come and meditate since we were broke and can't afford proper counseling. Now, my brother knows me 1,000,000,000%. He knows I am not a bad person, yet he witnessed me promising the moon and stars to try and save my marriage. I ate many bowls of bullshit that day, and I wasn't even wrong. She has a way of making people feel guilty about stuff she does. It's like magic, but evil. She's also always the victim. Nothing is ever her fault. So, I do what I have to do to keep things together for my kids. I didn't have the money to leave, even though I truly wanted to, but I didn't want my kids to have to go through the divorce thing. She was working, and things were starting to look up, though subtle things changed. When I worked, it was our money. With her working, it was her money. She came first, and she didn't care who had issues with it. When I worked, I never grilled her over any expenditures, but man, if I bought a candy bar at the gas station, I got the fifth degree. But I did what I thought I had to. I put my head in the sand and soldiered on. Years pass. Things seem to be okay. No. She gets a better paying job, and I am a stay-at-home dad, and honestly, I loved the job. Best one I ever had. We had our fourth child during that stretch, right after her father passed, but we weathered the storm. My son nearly died of an undetected birth defect that strangled a section of his bowels and had to have major surgery. He went into sepsis, and it was a nightmare. Just as things were looking stable at least, this happens, and she loses her job and we have nothing again, because my son needed round-the-clock care in his recovery. He was in the hospital for about 6 months. It broke us. Mentally, financially, you name it. We got through it, and my son is now 22 and healthy. I forgot to mention he was 8 when that happened. So we kept going, trying to recover from financial disaster number 2. Fun times. So, with the cyber hoe activity in the past, I slowly moved forward. I never really trusted her again, but in my mind, I had no choice but to stay. So more years pass, and during this time, her attitude becomes more and more combative. She's drinking every single day, even at work. When she gets drunk, she gets mean. I took so much crap, so my kids wouldn't have to, and yes, she would be vicious to them if I didn't intervene. I suppose this is the very definition of trapped. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So, I mentioned that she likes to game, right? Well, at this point, her gaming love moves to Android phone games. She starts a new one called Lord's Mobile. Before I go much further, let me remind you of her trash bag garage stash. Let's revisit. Over time, I realized that my wife is a mean drunk, a mean human, a cyber hoe, and a hoarder. Now, at this point, I am broken. Truly. I don't want to make excuses, but I come from a home that was immaculately clean, whereas she comes from a home where her mother is also a bit of a hoarder. So, my home is now a giant pile of crap. Boxes from floor to ceiling. A path to walk down. Never in a million years did I want something like this, but whenever I would try to fix it, she would get crazy mad and tell me that I have to go through that stuff before you throw it out, then never do it, ever. So it got worse. Now my kids had a path to navigate the house, and if I caused any friction about it, it's my house, you can get the fuck out. Having no money, I was screwed. So unhappy on 2 fronts. Fun. Now, back to the game. So this Lord's Mobile is a social game. She meets a bunch of people there, and now her life is basically going to work, coming home, eat in front of the computer, and game until she sleeps. She met a lot of people there. Now, our relationship was pretty neutral. We didn't have sex much, and I was just basically a live-in nanny. I didn't mind. I had my kids and they adore me, and I adore them, so it was okay with me. I would take any amount of crappy marriage, as long as I had them. The wife and I were coasting. She was happy with her game, and she was even happier ignoring me. Then, I noticed that she is beginning to get very secretive with her phone. She used to be 100% open with it, handing it to me, while she ran into a store or something, no passcode, nothing. Now I could not touch it. Yeah, I know what you're all thinking. It's classic and I am not a stupid human, For the most part, lol. So, she runs off to have conversations with some guy in Michigan. One night, she gets pretty drunk and gets on the phone. She isn't trying to be quiet or anything. I hear some phrases that make my heart stop. I love you and stuff like that. She proceeds to go out to our driveway. We live in the country, so it's pitch black outside. One of the kids goes out there to see if she's okay and stumbles upon her masturbating while on video chat with this lousy shitbag. Kids scarred, mind you, they are all teenagers at this point. I think my son was 19 or 20. I move out of my bedroom and into the room with my son. Also at this point, I haven't had a job in quite a number of years. I homeschooled my kids, so my wife was happy to work, and I stayed home and did everything else. This phone thing went on for a while. One day, I was driving my son to work when I got a call from my eldest daughter. She tells me my wife is packing her stuff and telling everyone who would listen that she was afraid I was going to kill her. Now, this is nuts. We haven't fought. There was no argument. I didn't even see her, if I could help it. Just boom, out of the blue. I turned the car around and head home. Now, if you were afraid someone was going to kill you, would you send them a text that said bring me my van you pussy? Yes, she used that word. I get there, and she is ranting like a madwoman. She packs up her stuff and heads to Michigan, screaming at me the whole time. Now, since that has been so very long, I will cut to the chase. She had sex with that guy she met in the game. Tried to lie, and I caught her. The worst part of all of this? I am again putting in applications to try to leave, but we still live in the same house. Do I need to tell you all how very much I want out? That is the help part in the title. Has anyone out there been through it and was a stay-at-home parent? How do you get back in the job market? I need out. I can't stand even seeing her most days. Help. Please.
Holy shitballs, OP. What the hell? I don't want to sound mean or an asshole, but it would be really easy to call you stupid or a coward. You sound insanely upbeat while describing what essentially at best was a low-quality woman. It's extremely puzzling why you continued being intimate with her despite all the burning red flags early on in the relationship. Look, you sound like quite a fantastic person actually, but you're severely codependent. You just kept accepting all of the bullshit from an awful spouse. You seriously need some therapy to figure out why you have made the decision to stay in such a toxic relationship. Why you think you deserve all of this. You were never trapped. Hell, you had the means, the option to leave the first sign of her not pulling her own weight in the relationship or the first time she cheated. Staying for the kids was an excuse to hide behind. Your kids would have been better off with divorced parents rather than growing up in such a toxic environment. Come on, man. But to answer your question, OP, most call centers will hire basically anybody, especially a native English speaker like you who knows a lot about computers. Depending on where you live, they can provide somewhat of a decent paying salary too. That's a good place to try and jumpstart your career after being on hiatus for such a long time. Now, for OP's multiple short updates.
Edit. This game that she plays? Lord's Mobile? She has spent around $8,000 on. I kid you not. Fun times. If you count the computer she bought for the game, there is an Android emulator for Windows called BlueStacks, which lets her run multiple instances of the game at once. That total would be nearly $10,000. Edit 2. Can't believe I forgot this. She doesn't consider it cheating. She says she left me. So I guess in someone's twisted reality, you can leave your significant other, throw some humps on some other guy, then come back, and it's not cheating. Insane, I know. Funny thing is, I have no idea, other than Michigan boy, what even happened that day. It was a normal day, then suddenly, she went over the deep end. To help me heal, I have been lifting weights like mad, and I am getting in pretty decent shape. My back injury from all those years ago still gets in the way. I will have to see a doctor for it. I'd love to get that fixed up. Edit 3. Another detail I remembered. When the kids found out about Michigan boy, they got his email from her computer and sent him each a message, basically saying how he was scum, and she was scum, and how they wanted him to just go away. Michigan boy then proceeded to call my wife and rat the kids out. He then sent my wife a copy of the messages they sent. They were not kind. My eldest daughter called her mother a whore in the message. It was brutal. It still makes me sad to even think about it. Edit 4. I am honestly blown away that this post is where it is. Thank you again for reading. It has been cathartic getting it all out. It's been a long journey, and honestly, to keep this post from being an actual book, I glossed over a lot of things. Now, am I perfect? Absolutely not. There were times I knew not to engage her, but I did. There were many times I knew I needed to go, but there was always a reason I didn't. I do believe she has a mental condition, and I know a lot of those don't manifest until the mid-20s to early 30s. She had her flaws, but I committed to her. I stood on that altar and promised to do my best, and I did that to the best of my abilities. To address the garage trash issue, it is common everywhere for attached garages to have insulated doors to keep the cold and heat out, and ours did just that. It kept the heat and cold out of the house, along with the smell. I worked long hours and had no reason to go into the garage for a long stretch. She would also steer me away if I mentioned it. At any rate, thank you for reading this, again. I appreciate the words of comfort and all of the advice. I did live this. I will get free of it. Edit 5. I did lightly touch on this, but we do live in the deep south. We are far from pretty much everything, and it's tough when you go through hardships and have one car. I have since gotten myself a beater, but it recently broke down. Good motor, car body is nice, with no rust and such, but the alternator and one wheel bearing are shot. I will get it repaired and see what I can do about getting myself and my kids out. As I mentioned, there are many factors contributing to my situation, but I have a list, and I am checking things off as quickly as I can.
Imagine spending $10,000 on a mobile game while your family is struggling financially. You have got to be a special kind of shit to do something like that. And from the looks of it, her affair partner is also a piece of shit. They're a perfect match for each other, right? OP, don't worry about what your kids said about your wife. You know deep down that she deserved every single letter of it. I'm also glad that you're taking steps on gaining your freedom. The only thing missing now is you promising yourself that you will finally divorce that bitch. Good luck. Hopefully you'll find the freedom and happiness that you truly deserve. Just like how I will be happy if you consider donating to me, your host Patsun. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to Patsun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.